Hello there, welcome back to Starsector. It's the good Dr. Bleak here for another round. Now let's see. When last we left off, we were in orbit around Nomios, the frozen world that's home to the Cryo Sanctum, where people pay to just sleep through this era in cryo, hoping things will eventually get better. Now, last time we got the opener for a quest related to one of the mods I have on. A gentleman from the Exodyne Biotech Corporation, which apparently collapsed while he was asleep, gave us the location of a ship. Apparently, it's guarded by AI drone ships, but has some very impressive biotech on board that he wanted someone to go find. Wasn't willing to let his life's work just sit out there forever. His implants were failing him since the domain controlled the verification servers that determined whether or not they could continue to operate, so he's not long for this world and doesn't have the time to go out there himself, but he wanted to make sure that something survived of all that work he put in. Now, along with that, we have some other items to take care of. The Abyssal Space Oddity quest also popped up. That one's vanilla. Academian Cornelius Ellick contacted us about something to do with information from the archives, but didn't give details. Apparently he cheaps out on his long-range communication too. We also happen to have an artifact to drop off at Galactica Academy, and I'd love to pick up some more quests from them since Galactica Academy tends to offer something decent pretty much all the time. With that in mind, we're going to jump over to Galactica and I'll meet you guys there. Alright, here we are, Galactica Academy, just like usual. Now let's have a look in on Cornelius Ellick, see what he's up to. A strange expression crosses the junior agent's face at your question, but it is instantly replaced by a return to bland pleasantness. Of course, Captain, I presume you have an appointment? Academian Ellick can be busy. He sent me a personal invitation. Of course, Captain, the agent says, if you'll come right this way. You are led through the station's primary transport hub and are soon deposited in an airy plaza halfway around the ring of the station. Your junior agent leads you through crowds of students and past a few tight-lipped academians who scurry by clutching their datapads. The junior agent fills the air with the sort of patter they must have saved for the first cycle students, pointing out landmarks and remarking upon departments and figures of interest to niche fields of study. You arrive in a quiet hall off the main concourse, only a couple decks above the station rim. An open volume ringed by railings provides a dizzying view of the clouds of Pontus below you. Third door on the right, Captain, the junior agent makes a tight smile, then disappears. A man in academian's robes is buried in a holo display. Several moons appear to orbit his head. What have I told you hooligans about office hours? He shouts out. They don't start until... He finally looks and realizes you aren't one of his students. Ah. He adopts a look of stern prognostication, cradling his hands together as glowing orbs circle above. I suppose greetings are in order. I am Academian Cornelius Ellick, Senior Vice Chair of the Planetology Department of the Galactica Academy. And you are? I'm James Bleak. We've spoken before. I return to your data core. Ellick stares at you, the spark of recognition failing to ignite. I'm afraid I don't recall, he says. What, may I ask, is the purpose of your visit? You sent a message about an old mystery. I'd like to help solve it. Oh, yes, of course. You should have simply said so. He rushes out of his holodisplay to pick up a datapad, then places himself behind a large desk, waving you toward a chair. Unfortunately, it is occupied by a battered data core, the sort used in long-range probes. Now then, he taps at his datapad, failing to notice your obstacle. The mystery concerns a very old dataset which has been in the Galactica Academy archives for somewhat more than 200 cycles. I stumbled upon it in the course of my studies. Well, in fact, I was discussing the old archives with a friend, a wealthy patron of the sciences. A comment they made reminded me of its existence. As it happens, this dataset is a recording of telemetry from a domain-era sensor array out on what we now call the Fringe. It was somewhat more civilized back when this data was captured, though not perhaps by much. Ellick chuckles softly at his wit. As for the dataset, we only really have a complete sourcing header. Our copy is mostly corrupted due to anomalous degradation during hyperwave transmission, and then over 200 cycles of low-priority storage. He shakes his head with a deep disappointment at the mistakes made by someone else. This chair has a data core in it. He snaps out of his reverie and looks at the chair. So it does, he says. Please don't touch it. In any event, Alec cradles his hands, looking into an imagined middle distance. This patron and a friend offered to fund a project to recover an intact copy of the data. From the source, he smiles, quite pleased with himself. An expedition shall be made to the original sensor array. Your name came up, Captain. Find the sensor array, extract the data. Sounds simple. When you put it like that, yes. He stands, placing his hands together behind his back, and begins pacing. I shall provide you with a scientific hardware package my students have prepared. It is far from simple, I assure you of that. Have your technicians attached to the sensor array, and it will carry out the necessary operations. That is not all, however. He pauses to look at you with a sly smile. Oh? I propose that once you acquire the data and my algorithm extracts the targeted coordinates, you then travel to the indicated location which lies at the heart of all this effort. Explore what is to be explored, find what is to be found. You will bring back no mere long-range scan, but a thorough investigation. Think of the science, think of the glory, and, he winks at you, you must be thinking of that vast fortune. I do believe that my friend will be more than delighted by this fait accompli. Okay, why is this data so important? What did the sensor array find? An excellent question. Alec taps at his datapad and turns toward his holo display. The spinning moons have disappeared to be replaced by a map of the Persean sector, a broad swath of stars. The core worlds are highlighted, the fringe stars are somewhat dimmed. Here you see, or do not see, for it is in the crudest sense a sort of absence, the Orion-Persean abyss. It is far from a nothingness, however, and it is that not-nothingness which we are concerned. So there's something in the abyss? Correct, dear Captain. Alec sounds pleased that you have followed the trajectory of his lesson. There are indeed planets to be found there, cold, dark, and alone, bereft of their parent stars, flung into the sparse waste between the arms of our galaxy. I theorize that it is one of these planets our sensor array was targeting. His tone grows less heated, or rather an unknown energetic event involving or concerning one such planet. We are not certain exactly which, however, and it is exceedingly difficult and expensive to perform any kind of broad analysis of these wayward children from afar. And with our sadly reduced means compared to the grand days of the old domain, alas, alack. In this message you mentioned a reward. The words vast fortune were used. Indeed, he looks at you brightly, though I'm certain mere credit shall pale in comparison to the illumination of the unknown. Knowledge, after all, is the greatest treasure. Alec waves a hand. Don't misunderstand me. I may be a man whose domain is of the mind, but I appreciate that those such as yourself have baser concerns. Trust that you will be rewarded. This project is funded by an excellent patron of the sciences, for whom I vouch for quite entirely. I didn't get a clear answer about this reward. How much is it? I don't know, he sputters. I'm sure it's plenty. 20,000 credits, maybe? Thank you. That seems sufficient. Excellent, Alec beams, apparently fully ignorant of the true cost of fleet logistics. Who exactly is this friend of yours? He frowns, carefully maintaining a thoughtful expression. They have asked me not to reveal their identity. I believe, if anything, the humility they show in not taking public credit for their contributions to this great academy, and my department in particular, are a sign of dedication to pure scientific advancement. Truly, it is a noble undertaking. More noble by far is your willingness to take up this cause. You're too kind, Captain, Alec smiles, quite pleased with himself. I believe that my patron expressed a similar sentiment. He looks up and away. Not that I have not had to make great sacrifices. Great sacrifices indeed. It is a lonely calling at times, but I hearten myself with the knowledge that I am enriching the... Despite your attempts at winning his favor, he's lost the thread and taken a whole new course. Eventually he drifts off into what looks like a thoughtful silence. I accept. Excellent. I'll have the hardware package transferred to your fleet immediately. He taps at a datapad, connecting comms and reels off some imperious orders to some poor support staff. Off you go. We made the package installation idiot-proof. I'm sure you, technicians will be capable of installing it. I'm sure we'll manage. Good. He turns back to his holo display and begins arranging moons again. I await your return, Captain, he says over his shoulder. Well, that about fits what I expect of Alec. Rather pompous, but definitely connected. Let's talk to Sebastian. You open comms to Sebastian. Sebastian points excitedly at a datapad in his hands. Captain, I've just got word from logistics that your crew has delivered the Domain-era forge components intact. They're going to be so excited in astrochemistry, they've never expected to get it back. Well, that's good. Let's see, what about the available jobs? Magnetic field scan. Just run a sensor package on something 21 light years away. Ah, okay. The item in question is a pulsar, so we'll have to be careful. Easy money, though. Purchasing technology from pirates. Usual. Ask about transporting scientists to the outpost. So I'm going to go ahead and just take all of those since there's no time limit on any of them. Now, what else are we going to get up to? Well, first things first, we're going to go to Coulon because I want to have a look at something. We did get that quest pet project to go out into the fringes and fight a variant on a Paragon, along with all of its AI drone defenders. And to be honest, I'm not sure I can take that on. Well, if I'm honest, I'm sure that I can't, at least not with my current fleet. Maybe if I was an expert at designs, I could, but I am not. So we're going to go to Coulon and see what the actual cost to buy my own Paragon would be, since I believe our reputation is now good enough that we could totally buy one off of Tritachyon. We'll see. And here we are, and there she is. 725,000 credits for a Paragon. I can definitely afford it. Yeah, why not? Now the trick is going to be fitting it out. Alright, so this girl's a bit of a hodgepodge, at least for now. Typically I tend to go for a symmetrical build in most cases, but didn't have the armaments on hand to do that. As of now, we've got her set with a pair of plasma cannons as forward-facing weapons, a tachyon lance on one side, and a high-intensity laser on the other. Eventually, if all goes well, I'll replace this with a set of 4 tachyon lances and kit the rest out to keep enemy fire off of us. Taking a shuttle down dockside, it looks like we've been recognized again, but in the good way this time. We'll keep it humble and low-key, improve our relation with everybody again. And we've got a hard-drinking spacer drowning his sorrows in the corner. Let's see. He's got a Buffalo-class freighter, lasting damage. I'll do the dude a favor. Seems like he could use it, and honestly, it's not gonna hurt me any. Now, what do we have on the bounty board today? That one's easy enough. Something tougher. Ooh. I think that's what we're going to take. It's going to take us out to Galactic West, which, again, looking to explore. But looks like they have bigger ships, some experimental stuff from Tritachyon, quite a few phase ships. What about this light destroyer they're selling? A Shrike. I've already bought enough ships as is, and to be honest, I've never found the Shrike terribly impressive, so I'm gonna leave that here. Alright, so as it stands, we've got our target, going out to Galactic West to have a look at that, and I'm gonna make a stopover in Navarro. We do have a bunch of stuff to drop off for storage, and there's also a pirate base nearby that I want to take out, both for the bounty and to keep them off my back. Alright, arriving in Zeta Braddock, right next door to our home base. Let's have a look around, see if we can find this pirate station. And we have arrived. While we're here, I'm just going to buy up all their fuel and supplies. Oh, and the Marines. And we're going to go ahead and launch a raid and try to steal more stuff. Let's see, it is a military base, so we'll get us some guns. Not bad, not bad. More stuff to add to the Don't Fuck With This armory, and a blueprint we can sell off for a profit. And let's move in and take these guys out. Now the Paragon isn't exactly what I want it to be yet, but might as well throw it in, just see how it does. Now the Paragon in general is not a very fast ship. That said, I find the loss in speed well worth it for the firepower. As mentioned, the Paragon not terribly fast, so we are going to have to wait for this section of the station to turn into proper orbit for us to hit it. But I have no concerns. Honestly, this pirate station probably doesn't need the Paragon here. It's just 2 hangar sections, not even a combat-focused section. They had no chance of resisting us to begin with. But it is important not to let pirates get a foothold, you know. They start nesting in the walls, you never get rid of them. The heck are you doing? The stupid AI can't manage the Paragon properly. Okay. The heck with it. Getting in here myself. Come on, I want to shoot something. Just let me get in range. Bring up our shields. Lay into them. And there we go. So frustrating. Don't want any of the pirate ships, just gonna take the money and be on my way. Looks like we've got a small pirate armada, and they don't know how much trouble they're in. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Legion on this one. It's faster, it should be able to keep up a bit better. And as usual, the wolf is the first thing to encounter an enemy ship, and it's a hound. Gotta love the predictability of the pirates. They really never learn. Boom goes the hound. Wolf on wolf fighting. But it looks like it got just a little too close to the Legion, and now the fighters are on it. Another hound bites the dust. Took an extra second, but yep. Cerberus got taken out up north. Driving the Shrike back by turning slightly and opening fire. Looks like the Fury over here is keeping the Atlas Mark II occupied. Now that's the pirate capital ship. Short version. Some genius took an Atlas, stripped off all the cargo containers, put in a belt-fed ammo system that lets it fire super fast, and called it a capital class ship. It's not the dumbest thing the pirates did, but it's up there. Legion's still holding up okay. Doing decent work with those missiles I gave it. Really don't think that Mora should be dropping its shields anywhere near as often as it is, but they don't really have much choice with their flux that high. Another one bites the dust. Down here on the south, it's a mule harassing the champion, and actually giving it quite a run for its money. Though I would hazard a guess that's more down to the champion using its weapons. Gonna go ahead and set the Medusa to try and give the Atlas Mark II a hard time. It's only got directional shields, and honestly, it's not that strong in terms of durability. Its main advantage is that it can spew out a massive amount of firepower in a relatively short amount of time. And the Medusa is pretty well geared up to run away if need be. The Legion's taken out the small chump change ships over here, though that is a good thing. The more of them that are in play, the more chance that one of them gets a clean shot off. And as much as I look down on the tiny ships that are pirate garbage, the fact of the matter is they can do a lot of damage left to their own devices. It's just a matter of overwhelming bigger ships with numbers. I'm going to go ahead and let the small ones go, and I'm just going to have a bunch of our ships engage on the Atlas Mark II. Take out the Omen. And I don't really have much in the way of small ships to replace it with. That's exactly what I was hoping to avoid. One small damage-dealing ship hanging around while the Atlas Mark II pounds something in mine. But I do think that Atlas Mark II's time is probably running low. Yep, rocket bombers on the end. around with the rocket bombers, forcing that flux up, bringing the shields down, opening it up for the rest of our fleet. Even if we're just plinking away, the longer we can hold it there, the better. Look at that thing go. The Atlas II, as I've said, lacks durability, but it makes up for it with raw firepower that it can throw out in a short amount of time. That is one of the things that makes the pirates actually kind of dangerous, if you're not prepared for them. That said, we overloaded it, so it should just be a matter of plinking away at the hull until it's gone. Let's just convert that from an engage order to a kill order. Speed this process up just a little bit. And there we are. Should be able to mop up the rest with relative ease. And now it's just the drone tenders left. Managed to dodge the rocket bomber, shockingly, but not enough to dodge the Legion. Yeah, I'm gonna call that good. Claim victory. Looks like we ended up driving a fair number of them away rather than killing them. I'll let them go. They followed me in. Interesting. Soon as possible, I do need to get this place its own station for protection. Alright, that's everything I don't need right now. Gosh, that's a lot of guns. Alright, we reached the target system. And it looks like they're probably right on the other side of the jump point, so we'll get right into it. Hopefully this is the target and not some unrelated fleet. Oh, yep, there they are. Gonna go with the Legion again. The speed, I think, will help with this particular engagement. Go with the usual tactic of having everyone stay centered around the Legion to start with. Now the trick is, some of these ships I actually don't recognize. This one here looks like an Eagle, but the Tritachyon version of an Eagle, which probably is accurate. And if so, that might be worth having. And then there's this Aurora up here, which was listed differently than the usual. Already got a ship down, I didn't even see it. Gonna go ahead and just have everyone gang up on the weird Aurora to start with. Should be able to take it down nice and quick. See, that's the power of a kill order. It can easily surround and overwhelm another ship, but it also tends to leave you vulnerable. You know, I'm realizing I probably didn't need quite as much with this particular fleet, but I'm glad to have had it anyway. Always better to come in over-prepared than under-prepared. Too much firepower rather than not enough. Come on, quit hiding. Boom. And that's that. Another fair chunk of change in the bucket. And yeah, we'll pursue these guys, but I'm going to order my second in command to take care of it. Give them the small ships. No enemy ships managed to escape. Good work. Let's see, salvage. Okay. These two are the ones that I was looking for. I want to find out what this one can do, and I'm just plain curious about this. Falcon, not Eagle. Falcon prototype. The Buffalo, we've got plenty of those. Oh hey, and we have another high-value prisoner. I'll add that one to the pile. Let's see, bounties. Do have a few nearby. Well, we got two options. Go ahead and lay in course for the nearer one. Alright, arrived where that next bounty is. It said it was around a barren desert world, and there's only one in this system, so we'll have a look there and see what we get. And of course, gonna drive-by scan everything. Yep, there it is. Now the trick with this one is gonna be they do have a lot of fighters. Let's see, so the champion for sure. The Legion. Fury, Eradicator, Omen, the Wolves, and the Medusa. Dang, I apparently have a style. I'm not going to restrict my ships as heavily on this one because we are dealing with a pirate fleet, so they aren't going to be able to endure as much. As always, a wolf is the first thing to find the enemy. And in this case, it's a hound. Buffalo Mark II already gone. But of course that has no shield, so that's not surprising. Part of the reason I went for the Legion on this one is I have a full loadout and it's one that I actually understand. Whereas my Paragon is currently a hodgepodge of whatever I could find. Still deadly, but not quite sure how it'll behave. Plus, with pirate fleets, often low-tech weapons actually do the job quite nicely. I'll have this Eradicator, Medusa, and Wolf come after this Mark III Colossus. You know, actually, while we're fighting, and I don't have much else to talk about, the Mark III Colossus is a fucking mess of a vessel. But shockingly, it's not the worst. So originally, it started off with the Colossus, a fairly common heavy freighter used to move goods place to place. Notably durable, from the old days back before there were shields if memory serves, so it had armor designed to withstand small impacts much better than most. Well, the Luddic Path took that and made the Colossus Mark II. They reworked its power systems, jammed a bunch of guns on it, and called it good. The Colossus Mark II was passable. It wasn't great, but nothing the Luddic Path flies is. Well, some genius pirate came along and said, No, they screwed it all up. I know what to do. Let's blow a pair of giant holes in the armor on the front of it that completely compromise the one thing that made it suitable for conversion to a combat ship in the first place. Then we'll strap a jailbroken nanoforge to the inside to make fighters and have it be a fighter carrier. And you want to know the most bizarre thing about it? Despite the fact that it should not work at all, somehow the pirates accidentally stumbled on a fairly good raiding ship. The mix of small arms all over the surface and the fact that it can support fighters means that the Colossus Mark III is actually really good for keeping planets under control while raiders go down to steal whatever they can. This is reflected in the game too. It has a hull mod that means that if there's one in the fleet, it supports raids and makes them more effective. Still wouldn't want to fly around in one, but there's something that it's good at, which for a pirate modified ship is surprising. Another kite bites the dust. Why they always think they're going to accomplish something, I do not know. This Eradicator's given us some problems, so I'm going to put a few more ships on it. Drive up the pressure. And here's the problem with all them fighters on everything. They're getting in the way of the shots and making it harder to hit the Eradicator, not to mention taking smaller shots from behind at my ships. My armor's not bad, but you don't want that if at all possible to avoid. But it looks like, yep, we're making progress. You got this. Take it down. Champion over here just destroying drones as fast as the Shepherd drone tender can make them. Now it looks like we got the Eradicator pinned down. Boom. Oh, and you may notice that the death animation for the ships is a little bit different than the last few episodes. Someone put in a request that I turn off the bright white flash that comes with them, because they apparently watch these videos late at night. And as someone who watches videos late at night, I can respect that. So, as a courtesy to that person who asked, very nicely, I've gone ahead and turned that off for the moment. Looks like the only thing left is one of the Colossus Mark IIIs. Yeah, this poor pilot's gotta be sweating now. There is no way they're making it out of this. There we go. They did manage to take out the Omen, nothing I'm concerned about. Another bounty down, now with our 100th thou in the bank account. Getting more survey data. Nothing terribly interesting so far, but, you know, that's how it goes. So we're stopping off over here in Samael, partially because I want to sell off some items that we don't need, and partially to get in range of a comms relay so I can pick up some more bounties if at all possible. Half the trick of these things is knowing when someone wants someone dead. Let's see. That one's on the other end of the system, as is that, and that, and that. Nothing to speak of far as the bounties go. Athletic Church is currently neutral to us, so we won't have to worry about them making trouble as we make our way over. Lots of Ludic Pathers out here. Alright, and back home at Alpha Braddock. But, going to jump, it looks like there is a fleet, possibly a threat on the far side of the jump point. Given this is my home turf, I intend to do something about it if there is one. Yep, pirates, out here raiding the system. What do you have to say for yourself? Just die already, you're boring me. Well, we'll see about that. Alright, so got the wolves going out to capture comm relays, and everything else going up to that nav buoy. That should give us a decent hold on the battlefield. Okay, everyone's moving in. Looks like they're making a push on the comm relay for some reason. Probably best to free up our troops to go over here. We don't need the nav buoy all that bad. Let's see. Pirate Falcon looks to be being flown by the dude we talked to who's heading the fleet. Boy, is he in for a nasty surprise. Looks like that tiny colony is a lot better defended than he was ready for. Wolf took out a Buffalo Mark II, nothing surprising there. Those ships suck. No shields, no armor, nothing worth speaking about, just a flying death trap. Looks like they took out the Shrike. Not too surprising. What on earth is the Eradicator doing all the way over here? Taking on these guys, apparently. Fighters are keeping the pressure on the Falcon. You know, we might need to bring in a little bit more firepower for this one. And I'm definitely not saying that just because I enjoy seeing the Paragon destroy stuff. You know, that seems a little bit overkill for one fighter, but fair enough. Oh, look at the Tachyon Lance just melt them. Powering through shields, shredding armor, melting hulls into dust. I love Tachyon Lances so damn much. What's going on over here? Oh yeah, that Eagle's getting its ass kicked. Take him out. Come on, you can do this. Nah, you're not getting that. Not this time, anyway. The Venture is keeping its distance well enough, but not quite enough to keep it entirely out of the Paragon's range. And there's that. So this is one of the problems you can run into with the Legion. It looks like most of its engines got knocked offline, so it's not turning terribly fast and it's not able to move terribly quick. Problem with the directional shields. They tend to do that. Colossus Mark III slowly being torn apart. And the Eradicator claims another hull. Come on, put it down. Eradicator, what's What's this one? Ah, a mulligan. I believe that one's a pirate design. Something they slapped together out of bits and pieces of other ships, specifically 2 gremlins stuck together. Which honestly doesn't surprise me as far as the pirates are concerned. That seems to be about the level of innovation they get up to. Another venture getting cornered and just beaten down by the Legion and the Eradicator together. You don't need fancy lasers to kill something, just as many bullets as you can possibly fire. God, the amount of lead they have to be using for that, or iron, depending what we're launching at them. And with that done, I believe we can call that good. Now I'm going to see about chasing them down, taking out any remaining combat ships they have. I know these guys are raiding my system, so if I can deprive them of the means to do so, all the better for me. Yeah, get that buffalo. Not even targeting it, it's just getting hit as collateral for the actual target. Come on, get in there. We only really need one good shot off on this guy to take him out. There we are. Falcon taken care of. We'll take out the drone tender and can call it good there. There's that. No combat ships left, they have nothing to attack my colony with. Alright, with that sorted out, we can go on back to home base. Let's see how Navarro is doing. Alright, stability is still good, access is good. We're growing pretty fast, but there's a shortage. Why is there a shortage? Shipping has been disrupted. Well, looks like trade fleets coming out of here have been getting harassed by the pirates. Doesn't come as a surprise, but still annoying. I'm gonna go ahead and put up a space station. It's going to set me back on credits, but worth it to keep my ships in good care. Dump off all my weapons. Let's see, what's up at the bar? Okay. Nervous cadet holding a drink approaches. Captain, the man over there wants a word with you. The cadet glances at a dark corner of the bar. Oh, let's see what he wants. Superiors recognize that my unique talents could serve their faction. Let me see. Wants an agent extracted from the pirate colony at Port Rascal. Not really interested in that right now. Let's see what we got for local bounties. Anything? Nothing nearby, and nothing I would take anyway. That being the case, gonna go off to Kaiseron, sell off my collection of metal from all the ships that I've blown up recently. Yeah, I'll meet you guys there. Oh, looks like we got another pirate fleet. Battle's not even big enough to have control points, so this should be a fairly straightforward one. bites the dust, and another kite bites the dust, and another one gone, and another one gone. Yes, another kite bites the dust. There goes a Buffalo Mark II. I love watching the Legion just tear things to pieces. It brings me joy. Fury making short work of small ships. The Eradicator taking on a venture. Putting on a decent show of it too, really driving that flux up and not really taking many hits itself. Looks like these two are the biggest ones left. The Fury coming in with the ion pulsar and just eliminating all of those fighters. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. To be trapped on that venture, nothing works anymore. The hull is groaning under the strain, desperately trying to hold on just another minute, praying that maybe you'll make it to an escape pod. And there's that. Alright, got the metal sold off, and now we're on to Asconia. Now while we're on the way, I'm just going to go ahead and chat a little bit about what the Sindrian Dictats deal is. Short, simple version. Back about 26 years before the game starts in-universe, there's a peaceful, independent system called Asconia. It's independent, its capital is the moon Opus, and is supported by the planet Volturn and Sindria. In cycle 180, the Asconian crisis erupts as a civil war engulfs the system over domestic issues, mainly whether they're going to join the Persean League or what. In 181, the Hegemony sends out a task force led by Philip Andrada to prevent any chance of the polity becoming part of the Persean League. Not long after, a planet killer is used on Opus by someone, nobody knows who, causing a catastrophic loss as everyone ends up accusing each other of being responsible. In the face of this, the Hegemony issues a recall order. Philip disobeys, instead declares himself executor over the system, with most of the task force supporting him, defecting from the Hegemony to form a new polity. Philip Andrada ends up in charge of the entire place and turns the whole thing into a fascist dictatorship with him as leader for life. Like all fascists, they're horribly inefficient. Their entire economy is built on having the only source of lobster in the sector, and on controlling a massive source of fuel. That fuel and lobster-based dictatorship is what keeps the Sindrian Dictat going. Today, Philip Andrada hasn't been seen in quite a while, actually. I mean, he wasn't a young man when this went down, and it's been 26 years plus however long the game has been running, so about 30 years at this point. He would already be fairly elderly. Rumors are starting to spread that he might not be alive anymore, or at least not in a position to run things. Another pirate fleet, small and evasive. Now, the Dictat's already friendly to me, so I don't really need to be currying favor with them, but there is a system bounty out, which means we get paid for every enemy ship that we wreck, in particular, pirates. So just gonna see about taking out as many of these guys as I can while I'm here, and getting that sweet, sweet free money. Unfortunately, these guys are small and fast, so there's a very real chance they will escape, but we're going to at least take a couple chunks out of them. Yep, looks like the omen is finally catching up. Come on. Take them down. I know you can do it. Bang, bang. Drive down those shields. Oops, someone just lost their engine and everything. And there's the engines down on the kite. There it goes. Only thing they've got left is this wolf. I guess they won't be escaping us after all. Then again, wolves are slippery. There's a chance they might slip by me. Yep, he's turning around to make the run. Yep. Not a lot of cash, but extra money is always appreciated. Oh, and apparently the Fang Society also has a bounty out, so that's interesting. Since the crisis, Nordia's mining and refining centers have grown sprawling, tumorous rock foam suburbs. Here following mining tunnels beneath the surface, there bubbling up comm arrays, solar collectors, and pressure domes. Civil governance is carried out in the form of an uneasier agreement between the underground Charterist resistance forces, organized in a dual military hierarchy cell structure, backing an above-ground cartel of independent smugglers pretending to be a legitimate government, which even boasts something resembling a hegemony diplomatic presence. Oh, this poor planet. Looks like they're short on organics, though, which is why I came here. Good place to dump those off, make some quick cash. At the bar, someone looking for smuggling. Yeah, no, I'm good. But what I will go have a look at is lobsters. So, the sector doesn't have lobsters, really. It has a bioforged alternative called Volturnian lobster, which are not quite lobster, but are lobster-like. Another pirate raider. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, the sector doesn't, strictly speaking, have lobster. Lobster don't exist out here. What they do have is an alternative that was seeded by, oddly enough, Exodyne Biotech. The planet Volturn, a water world, was seeded with a derivative of lobster, usually just called Volturnian lobsters. They live in pens underwater and of course roam free as well, and since this is the only place where they will thrive anywhere, they are delicious and expensive. I'm going to go ahead and just buy those up. Volturn was envisioned as a planet of agriculture and leisure to serve the now annihilated capital city moon, Opus. Refugees from the Asconia crisis have swelled the population of Volturn many-fold, surpassing even the numbers of Syndria and filling the floating ecologies, resort cruisers, and terraforming barges with makeshift housing. An economy of light industry and aquaculture prevails, many products having been derived from the processing of sea life genetically modified to flourish in the ocean world. A diktat garrison maintains uneasy rule over a world of stinking algae farms and floating slums. The hotbed of resistance movements, esoteric cults, and criminal syndicates. Your fleet transmits identification codes via transponder, and you are granted docking clearance. Let's head down to the bar. Let's see, someone wants a privateering arrangement. They want fighting against the Fang Society. I don't know too much about those guys, so I'm not going to mess with them right now. And of course, while we're here, it would only make sense to stop at the gas station, by which I mean Syndria itself. Syndria is home to one of the largest fuel refining operations in the sector, so it is one of the best places to buy fuel, pretty much constantly. You might also notice that there are an absolute ton of Syndrian ships. That is because Syndria is home to a military dictatorship that prioritizes having tons of ships that are of questionable quality laying around than it does, politics. Let's see. Yep, as expected, the best place to buy, although apparently being rivaled by Kamikaze. Interesting. I'll have to remember that if I ever piss the dictat off. Let's see, where do we want to go to sell off the lobster? We're going to go to the tile system, to the planet Cibola, to sell off all those lobsters we just picked up. Should make a nice tidy profit. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Looks like a special task group from, I think that was Hazard Mining Incorporated. They must be off doing something. Okay. Many cycles ago, an ancient starship from the early days of human colonization encountered Cibola. An anomalous series of ice bodies had impacted the world, leaving it cooler and wetter than its equilibrium state, and therefore within the spaceship's colonization parameters. No history has survived the subsequent cycles, but the late domain colonizers who arrived in the Persean sector found a dying world, populated by a small backwater and desperate human civilization, clinging to survival. The situation is little improved since recontact, and most Cibolans have left their homeworld or wish they could. And let's sell these off. Ooh, we're getting an even better price than expected. Nice. So more or less, Cibola was unintentionally colonized. A ship registered it as within parameters, but only because of something that wasn't going to last. A sudden influx of water that was going to get carried away by the solar winds eventually. That is rough. Real rough. Meanwhile, Madeira is a small and cold but just habitable world deemed insignificant enough by domain colonization planners to harbor a fuel production facility, otherwise notable for exotic volatiles captured from its primary, and the fluorescing pseudo-algae which live within cracks of vast storm-swept ice fields that dominate the surface. Now that's interesting and noteworthy because the domain makes a point of controlling fuel, at least when they were around. The hegemony tries to do the same, but, well, as we just went to Asconia, that didn't work out. Now there is a man down here haranguing officials about pirate raids. Apparently he's disappointed by the lack of action, and is willing to put down money if someone will do something about it. 1,000 credits per frigate and more payout for larger hulls, running the bounty for 120 days to send a message to the pirates. Now, I happen to be going there anyway. That system has a pirate base that has a bounty on it. I figure I'll go there, I'll get paid twice to take out the same ships and station. I win either way. And if we happen to find anything else worth doing out there, wouldn't hurt. I don't believe that's a system that we've explored yet. Alright, arriving at the Aru star system where we're going to be hunting for pirates and blowing up one of their bases. Oh, yeah, I'm not messing with whoever that is. That fleet right there has what appears to be an onslaught. That's typically one of the hegemony's designs, but it said they were lying in wait, so they're probably waiting to ambush somebody. Oh, pirate fleet. Smart enough to emergency burn to try and get away from me. So instead we're going to go over here. Now there's only one planet in this system, so that's got to be where the pirate station is orbiting. Oh, a Corsair. Took out 3 of 4 ships. Now despite my suspicions, the pirate base is not in orbit here, so it's got to be somewhere else in this ring. I'm guessing we'll circle around and, yep, there is a sensor contact over here. Gotta be it. Yep, there we are. Moyle Starbase. They're willing to trade with me, so I'll buy up their marines and their supplies. Oh. They actually have a couple of mod specs that would be worth having. I'll just take those. And now we use those exact same Marines to launch a raid against them and try and steal their stuff. Get in there. Another mod spec. Excellent. And a bunch of weapons that we can put on our other ships. Wonderful. And now we blow the place up. And there's our station. Well, looks like they went for a high-tech one, too. This is good for us. This will be a great opportunity to get fancy lasers and such. Looks like a lot of pulse lasers. Well, I am all down for that. The more of those we get, the better. They're doing something of a number on the Legion, so I'm going to go ahead and give that one the okay to pull back. Should start backing off shortly. Fortunately, stations, like everything else, do use flux. If we can drive it up high enough, yep, there we are. And there's one section down. One more to go. Coming up on that second section sooner than later. But while we're at it, we're taking out the shield emitters for the station, so it won't be able to cover itself. The thing with the high-tech stations, their shield and their combat sections are separated. So if you can blow up the shield emitter, they can't protect themselves anymore. Oh, look at that flux rise. I've got the Medusa pulling back at the moment. Typically speaking, it's better to have a ship retreat than it is to get destroyed, but it got destroyed anyway, god damn it. You'd think it would use the phase skimmer to try and get away, but apparently not. How do I know? I'm just smarter than the AI, and generally a better pilot too, at least from what I remember. It's been a while. Is there a reason you're orbiting it at exactly the speed that it's moving away from you? I mean, I'm not complaining per se, I'm just confused as to what the angle is here. As before, I think I'm going to step in on my own on this one and just take over for a moment. Scoot around here. Gosh, that speed really is something, isn't it? That's my only real gripe about the Paragon, is that it just moves like a slug. But it gets the job done in the end. Recover our Medusa. Enjoy quite a bit of income, and for now I'm going to go ahead and call it there. See you guys around.